Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the esteemed FaceTime with Leaders and Initiative by World Development Corporation. My name is Tanay All, and I'm an anchor at World Development Corporation. FaceTime with Leaders is a platform for industry titans to come together to share their knowledge, ideas, thoughts, and best practices with one another, as well as with upcoming industry leaders. In a nutshell, we attempt to encapsulate the multi-decadal learning of all our industry stalwarts. We hope that by conducting these FaceTime with Leader interviews, we can bring together a global community of eminent personalities. By bringing together such visionaries on one platform, we hope to play a part in inspiring the lives of other leaders. Great learnings from great leaders undoubtedly assist everyone as they help us to identify, nurture, and work on trade secrets that have already proven a success formula for so many. And this is what we aim for with these sessions by making them a gathering of industry stalwarts and a knowledge sharing community. We have one such industry stalwart on FaceTime with Leaders with us today, Mr. Balaji Srinivasan. We welcome you on the show, sir.
Thank you, Tanay.
He is a seasoned technology leader, strategist, and advisor with an illustrious career spanning nearly 2.5 decades, marked by profound leadership, technical prowess, and a relentless commitment to achieving strategic outcomes. As a dynamic executive, he has successfully navigated the realms of technology, architecture, and business applications, contributing significantly to the growth and transformation of renowned organizations. His leadership journey includes his current role as founder and CTO of Zentience Technologies Private Limited. He has been instrumental in setting visionary goals for the CIO office, fostering innovation, managing budgets, and enhancing the overall IT experience of employees, customers, and stakeholders across multiple executive leadership roles in companies like Computer Science Corporation, Progress Software, Virtusa Technologies, and High Radius Technologies. His responsibilities extend to improving IT strategy and processes, IT architectures, IT service reliability, procurement, and application delivery models while strategically transforming cloud and non-cloud infrastructure. So, sir, could you let our viewers know in brief about your career journey so far?
Thanks, Tanay, for the introduction. Of course, I have moved from east to west in terms of career when I started 25 years back. I started as a trainer, and at every step, what I was trying to do is I was lucky to have mentors who have been mentoring me in making me learn what is needed for the next step in the journey. When I was training, I made sure that I knew the coding in and out and what kind of questions and mistakes do people make when they actually code. That helped me a lot when I move into the next stage of my career in Computer Science Corporation, where I became an architect after some amount of coding and training again. I became an architect, and that gave me the confidence to see where potential problems were. During the architecture, I had been consulting with multiple clients across the world and that was the time in way back in 2000s or the early part of the millennium when most of the digitization was happening, and I had the privilege of working with great clients across multiple banks where I started to know about how businesses happen, what is needed from an executive leadership as you move towards an executive leadership as a business owner. What are the things that I should be looking at other than the technology? And that is when and I was lucky to be working across multiple areas, though in the early part of the 2000s and others, India was predominantly a service industry. And now, if you look at it, we are not dependent on service. We have moved into, I would say, a multi-legged business place where you have products, innovation. There are multiple things. At that part, it was only service. And I had the privilege of moving from an architectural and technical position into an executive position, leading a product organization and setting up their businesses in India when I returned back from US. I had a pretty much around 6-7 years stint in US, traveling on and off, and came back and set up the CIO's office for progress. That's when I started to get into a product and product engineering perspective. After that, again, the role keeps on changing, right? After a point of time, when you do both services and product, you start to think about what next. And that's when I got this role of managing the entire capability of around 10,000 people and transforming the skills along with architectures, along consulting with architectures and how to make these 10,000 strong team members uh, ready for the future. It's a kind of skill building. You get into a mold of HR. You are a technologist at the heart, and it was pretty interesting role that I played. And then at the end, my last stint was with a company called High Radius, where I was privileged enough to set their entire IT processes, and where basically it is a startup at scale. Okay, so if you look at it from an enterprise to a product-based organization on services side as well as on the product side, to heading the capabilities and heading a scaled startup. Now it is my turn to set something on my own, and then we started this company with quite close friends of mine whom we know for the last 25 years, called Zentience Technologies. And that is where I am the CTO at this point of time, heading the product engineering as well as on the service models on particularly what we call as green skills. I think that is our flagship thing that we want to take to the market in the future.
So you have expertise in setting up innovation and research centers in new technological areas. Could you provide insights into your approach to fostering innovation within organizations, and how do you encourage a culture of experimentation and learning?
It's a great question. See, it's basically what the culture is all about, right? If you look at any organization, if it needs to be on the growth path, if I just do the mundane things from morning to evening, it is hard for me to transform and change what is needed for the future. Okay. Any organization that is looking to transform into the future needs to definitely have an R&D arm. And I was lucky to be part of those kind of organizations right from my earlier start in my career. I had been part of my technology labs or advanced technology group, what we call as in my first stint in computer science corporation, where the idea was to create solutions for the future. It is not for today. Though we work on projects, we were a part of a skilled group called technology associates, who will be called for any kind of solutions that needs to be built for the future. And that was my starting um, point of the innovation path that I have taken all along. And then once you're in a product organization, right, again, products are one thing about creating new features, which is equivalent to that of what do I do next? And I need to source, and it cannot be one man's idea for sure. There has to be feedback from the people who build it. There has to be feedback from the people who use it. There has to be feedback from my sales partners. There has to be feedback from my service support. We need to take all of their feedback and create one feature, which is that's when we started to get into something called as crowdsourcing of ideas. And from there, what can we do to make that into the product organization? That apart, right? When I moved into this thing inside Virtusa, what happened was I had a privilege of setting up. I was working, as I mentioned, I was working with 10,000 strong army, right? So in the 10,000 strong army, I had to prepare them for the future. And one name or one content that people strongly liked was innovation. What do I do? Nobody wants to work on mainframes. Okay, I need to prepare people for mainframes as well as what they can do for the future. So if you look at what we have done and the patents that I have created, it is mostly with all the people who worked for me in those areas. And we created quite a lot of patents and solutions in what we call as non-linear strategy. What we mean by that is most of the time people think in IT industry, people think the number of people converts into the revenue directly, right? But you don't take into factors if I build one asset which will drastically reduce my dependency on a person, then the ROI goes minimum 3x to 5x. And in that context, we had to create quite a lot of new solutions to go to market. And that is how I was able to use that strong army of 10,000 people in my group to start start getting into innovation to create these solutions which were rewarded. So some of these things apart, I work with quite a number of colleges in setting up CoEs, what we call as Center of Excellences, and we started to harvest what we call as component harvesting from each of the colleges. So this is where we started the grassroots innovation and all the way up to enterprise innovation and product innovation. These are the various areas that we have worked, and I have been moderately successful in each of these areas. There were hits and misses because innovation is not always about success. We also learned on the path of innovation.
As a mentor and coach for startups in product and platform engineering, what advice do you typically offer to early stage companies aiming to build scalable and innovative technology solutions?
Create value. Make sure that, don't create a product that you won't buy. Be in the customer's shoes. I think most of the products these days, and as I've been part of multiple startup mentoring aspects also, and me being a startup founder these days, mentor part is one part of it where you just talk to them and understand their problems. But wearing that same shoe right now is a different ball game for me. Okay, so what I see people doing is creating something and not measuring the value. First, all the way, test your solution to make sure it creates a value for your customer. Once you are able to create a value, how long will you be able to create the sustenance of that value? That's a second important measure. If these two are addressed by a startup, I think they have to play a long game, and most of the startups die because of multiple financial aspects that they are not able to prove the value, so that they are not able to get this continuous source of funding. And this is precisely what we are trying to move away from in Zentience. We want to create a value, thereby creating a sustenance for the customer or sustainability for the customer as such. So work with customer in mind, work with value in mind that you create for the customer, and never create a product that you wouldn't buy. These are three simple things that I would say to any startup.
So how and when did you develop an interest in ESG and corporate governance?
Corporate governance for long. As I moved into executive leadership, there is no way that you can escape from corporate governance as such. Definitely, in that sense, in terms of corporate governance, from the time I moved into executive leadership in my Progress software around 10, 12 years or 15 years back, I have been with the corporate governance, corporate social responsibility activities. In fact, as part of multiple organizations in the CSR part of it, we have used fund to create a platform that was pretty much evident during the COVID. We created it as a part of the CSR funding, but it became the de facto platform to go when COVID struck 2 to 3 years back or 4 years back. That platform is called as Dakshas, where we started it as a remote orthopedic platform. But over a period of time, it changed into COVID and multiple aspects of what it is about. So, feeling really privileged to be part of that NGO, working as a part of using the CSR funds of my enterprise and using all my army of 10,000 people to be a part of that kind of a social responsibility where we can give it back to the society as such. The second part of it on the sustainability started particularly 3 to 5 years back when we were thinking about as a group, as a part of our leadership forums and things like that, when we were thinking about how do we run the business for sustainability. It's not about profits. It's not about how many people I have, whether people can really do sustainable work. For example, in all other countries, there is always a difference between profession and passion. They are able to balance it. But whereas when it comes to India, we run the profession and we give out on our passions. Or there are multiple scenarios. Why can't one person be a farmer doing agriculture right from mornings, or assisting his father and others right from morning 5 to 8 and evening 5 to 7 or 8, and in between do something that is a part of the profession like an IT. And that is where certain companies that you would have seen are pretty much successful. For example, India's Jewel Zoho is one such company which is in the remote villages of Tamil Nadu. So we as leaders in a leadership forum, we started to really think about it. And the whole concept of Zentience is about providing that kind of a sustainable living for multiple groups of people. It is, we are building a company that is built for sustainable future. So it's not out of interest, it's more out of passion that we have gotten into this, where we will be able to provide, people should be able to do work at their leisure without a pressure. And for that, can we have a sustainable mechanism to provide that opportunity for them? That's what we thought, and that's how we are operating. We are working with underprivileged people in certain areas. We are working with returning mothers. We are working with people in remote areas, and the entire company is completely remote right now, where we are trying to operate and with two reasons. One, we want to have a sustainable future, and we want to promote people on tier 2, tier 3 cities where there is enough and more infrastructure to make people work from there, rather than bringing them to city and bringing them into this chaos of traffic, people losing their mental peace. You work for 4 hours, you be happy for another 20 hours is the theme that we are trying to build. We don't know how successful we will be, but that's our aim.
As an ESG and corporate governance expert, what values do you bring to the table?
Primarily, as I was saying, right, we want to bring us, we want to, I want to be a part. Now, if you look at many ESG aspects that are happening, ESG is happening at a reporting level. It is not happening at a culture level. What we want to do, and that is what we want to practice, what we preach, right? So that's the primary agenda of setting our own company with three things. One is green product engineering, green skills, and also inculcating this concept of green product engineering and green skills to other companies as such, so that it becomes a culture. And this is what we want to bring in, and that is where I will be stepping into the future, and probably in the next 6 months to a year, wherein we are putting things in place as a part of my company right now on what do you mean by green skills, what do you mean by green coding, whom do you call as a green coder? There are multiple things that are coming in, and we just want to be in that space, especially in the consulting area, and also build products in the sustainability arena using AI and Web3. That's what I'm going to bring to the table. And we are working with multiple clients at this point of time. It's all at a consulting area, but once our products are out, how we bring in those green skills, how we bring in those reduced electricity usage, reduced consumption, what is green coding? I think that itself is going to define everything, and that is where I'm going to fill in the shoes in ESG.
Now, what are some of the most remarkable changes you have seen in your field with respect to changes in technology? And what changes do you expect to see with the advent of all these new technologies like IoT, AI, ML, blockchain, big data, Web 3.0, digital twin, etc.?
It's as I said, right? When we started, it was all about mainframes, a green and red screen that people may not even except in a Matrix movie where everything runs right. There's numbers across the screen. Except that point, many wouldn't have even seen those huge machines occupying around a 5,000 square feet data center. Again, I started my career in mainframe, and with then we moved on to this internet phase, from a computer or a PC phase into an internet phase. That was, people thought, what more do we need? Because we are able to connect everyone across the world assets. The world has shrunk. When internet came, world has shrunk is what people thought. Then now with then came the cloud, where we said, okay, we don't need any of people having their own things. Now we will centralize everything into some place. You don't bother where it is getting stored. You just connect to cloud and start using it. Now with AI and IoT and things coming in, we are going to see humans becoming productive. Humans were always thinking about how to make the machine work, right? And humans, that problem of how to make the machine work is going to be taken by machines themselves. They know how to work. You just need to provide them what you need. And humans are always going, and that is how the future is going. How human is going to dictate, how productively he is going to dictate the machine to give the deliverables is what is going to be the future. And I think every aspect of it is getting towards that. It is not that humans need to think, they need to think more to make the machines work, rather than you trying to just program it that way.
So we're building a community here of industry magnates. The move is meant for cross-pollination of knowledge and building a knowledge-sharing community of corporate giants and industry experts. What are your thoughts about this initiative taken by Mr. Zishan Pathan, Mr. Heval Mehta, and the whole World Development Corporation team?
It's a great initiative, by the way, and the way in which things have been done by WDC so far have been fascinating, so to say. There are multiple aspects that they have brought in that were not available to the public earlier, including the directorship programs, the ESG programs, and also it is not about just bringing them to the fore, but it is also about making sure that community is able to use them productively for their personal interests also. A community can thrive only when there is something that people are able to gain out of it. Nobody would be a part of the community or a group that they don't find any value in. People are parts of, there are 1,000 groups that they may be in a WhatsApp, but there could be some 10 or 15 where they are active. They are active in that because that is a community where they see value. That is a community that they are attached to emotionally. And I think what WDC is for at least the people who have been part of that community is something similar. And it's a great initiative. Thanks to Havel and everyone in WDC for uh, for for starting this initiative and creating these kind of knowledge sharing sessions along with mentors and taking the stride forward in taking it to a larger group.
Great, sir. It was fantastic conversing with you, and I'm confident that your insights will truly inspire future leaders. Thank you so much once again for joining us today, and wish you the best for your future endeavors.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Tanai. It was nice talking to you. Hope it was useful in some way or other.
Absolutely, sir. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.